Hi guys, my name is Stefano. Welcome to my channel, where I will share with you guys some content on self-improvement, health, and overall wellness. And I will also share with you guys my personal experience on how you can better yourself on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so for today's video, I'm going to talk about fasting and share with you guys some of the experiences I've gained over the last 3 years of doing it. This has become a really hot topic these days. You can hear a lot about it on YouTube or on social media. So I'm not going to go into too much detail on what is actually fasting. I'll just summarize the details in a nutshell, and then I will share with you guys some of the experiences I've gained, what has worked and what has not worked. So what is fasting? Well, according to Wikipedia, fasting is the willful refrainment from eating and drinking. In a physiological context, fasting may refer to the metabolic status of a person who has not eaten overnight, or to the metabolic state achieved after complete digestion and absorption of a meal. Several metabolic adjustments occur during fasting. So there are a few ways to look at fasting. During Ramadan, for example, you're not allowed to eat or consume anything during the day, and you must take your consumption of calories during the night. However, for Ramadan, you also can't drink anything, any water or tea or coffee. You really cannot consume anything at all during the day. Nowadays, you will often hear the word intermittent fasting, which in my opinion is probably the best way to fast. The way intermittent fasting works is you have to go at least 16 hours or more without eating. That means without taking any calories. However, during intermittent fasting, you are allowed to drink water or tea or coffee. Basically, you're still allowed to consume things that don't have calories. The point is, during intermittent fasting, you want to go through your reservoir and empty everything that you have consumed. But in a nutshell, fasting basically just means going through a period of time without consuming any calories so that your body can consume or burn through the storage of fat that you have in your body. When this happens, when you are burning the fat, you are releasing ketones, and ketones are another source of energy besides glucose that has a lot of benefits. Now, before I go into the benefits of fasting, I want to take a step back. Let's look at the evolution of mankind. Okay, let's go back to the cavemen. If you think about it, the way we eat now, having 3 meals a day is fairly recent compared to the long history of Homo sapiens. So back in the days, during our caveman days or our hunter-gatherer days, food was very scarce and we would go really prolonged periods without eating. And so once the gatherers or the hunters would find food and bring it back to the village, this had to be consumed quite quickly because also we didn't have any technology to preserve our food, such as fridges and freezers. So over time, Homo sapiens have evolved to go through this kind of process, to go through this period of starvation and then quickly eating your food so that you had the energy you needed to do other kind of activities. And then the cycle repeated and repeated. So if you think about it, our bodies have adapted to that type of lifestyle. And if you think about it, those hunters and gatherers had to be very sharp when, for example, they found a prey to be able to catch it. And in order to do that, in order to find the burst of energy and the mental strength, they needed to burn through some source of energy. And that source of energy was through fats because their glucose levels or the glycogen levels were depleted. It's also a reason why, personally, when I go through fasting, I find a type of mental focus that I wouldn't when I had just eaten. Usually when I have just eaten, I feel kind of like can't really focus much. However, when I do the fasting, I don't have those moments at all. If anything, I feel even more focused. There are many benefits to fasting. The first, probably the most popular one, is that you will burn through your fat storage, and so then you'll be much leaner. The second would be that through releasing ketones, so through burning fat and releasing ketones, you will have lots of benefits to your heart and to your brain because ketones have been scientifically proven to help the health of your brain and heart. Another benefit that I found personally to help me a lot is I waste a lot less time. For example, during lunch, you have to prep your food, you have to cook it, then you have to eat it. And then after eating it, you might feel slouchy or a bit lazy because your blood is rushing to your stomach and is being taken from other parts of your body so that you can digest. So personally, I found that I've gained about an hour and a half to 2 hours every single day by fasting. So what happens in our bodies when we fast? How about we do a little experiment? Let's run the clock on a person who is going through a fast. So let's say this person finishes their last meal just before 9 p.m. Then that person will go to sleep and will spend the majority of their fast while they're sleeping. And then say 12 hours after her or his last meal, so around 9 a.m., there's this thing happening in our body. And what happens is it's the release of human growth hormone. And human growth hormone has been shown to have anti-aging properties, fat-burning properties, also involved in protein synthesis, and it's really good for healing joints. So after this 12-hour window, when you start releasing human growth hormone, it continues to be released the more you are fasting. Okay, then after about 18 hours, your body goes through a process called autophagy. And this is kind of like the body recycling itself. It's the body's way of cleaning out damaged cells and regenerating newer, healthier cells. If you go further than 18 hours and you get to 24 hours without taking any calories, you will start to see a decrease in inflammation. And your body will also start producing stem cells. Also at this point, you are draining your glycogen reserve, which means that there's less glucose going to your liver, and thus you are burning through more and more ketones over time. They are also known to be an appetite suppressor and antioxidants. So that's pretty much what happens after around 24 hours. Let's say you go further than that. Let's say you go up to 48 hours. What happens here is pretty astonishing. You get a huge increase in stem cells, a huge increase in human growth hormone. So there you go. There's quite a lot of things happening in your body when you're fasting, from 16 hours up to 48 hours. You can go further than 48 hours to 72 hours, but I really don't recommend this. Maybe periodically, like once in a blue moon, you might want to do a 72-hour fast. It's up to you. I don't think there's really a need for that. It becomes a mental game at that point and not really looking at the benefits for your body of fasting. So a lot of people ask me if fasting and exercise go hand in hand. And the direct answer is yes. When you are fasting, you are actually producing a lot of human growth hormone, which is really good for building a muscle and for losing fat. If you are fasting and you are exercising, you are doing double that. Through fasting, you produce human growth hormone, and through exercise, you're producing human growth hormone. However, you have to pay attention to what goals are you trying to achieve. You have, on one hand, say, I want to get leaner. I want to keep the muscle mass that I have, but I want to get leaner. At this point, you want to go through your fasting and you exercise as you want, depending on the workouts you want to do or the sports you're trying to achieve. However, the amount of calories you should eat should be proportionate. So let's say you want to keep your muscle mass but lose fat. Okay, you want to eat the normal amount of calories. Say you're on the other spectrum, you want to lose fat but gain muscle, like a bodybuilder, for example. You want to have a surplus of calories. So during your window for eating, you really want to eat as much as possible, up to the 3,000, 4,000 calorie range, if you really want to achieve those types of goals. So depending on your goals, you really need to focus in on your eating window periods and know how many calories you should be eating. So I started with intermittent fasting about 3 years ago, and I've been doing it ever since. Of course, I have my occasional weekends where I will eat whenever and whatever I want. However, that adds up to maybe like 10 to 20% of the whole time that I've been intermittent fasting for the last 3 years. So it's not a big thing. I first started with a 16-hour, 8-hour window. So that means it's 16 hours going without eating and then an 8-hour window where I could eat, just to have kind of a sense of how it was going to be like. I can tell you right away that the first week was definitely the toughest. I had cravings all the time around 11, but I quickly realized that I was definitely more focused during the day and also could tap into certain types of energy that I couldn't before. So the way I split it is I would start eating my lunch around 1 p.m. and then I would eat my dinner around between 7 and 9. And the next day I would skip breakfast. And if you think about it, funny enough, if you split the word breakfast, it basically turns into break your fast. It's the point at which you break your fast. You could pretty much say that your lunch is your breakfast. You're breaking your fast at lunch. So you're going through this amount of time without eating, and you're only going to break that fast until you've reached 16 hours. So breakfast could technically be your lunch. So by following this regime, I could definitely see that I was losing fat very quickly. Even during the first week, I noticed that I was losing fat pretty quickly. But also, I was noticing that I was building muscle. So I was not losing muscle mass, I was actually gaining. Of course, I was doing workouts, I was going to the gym, I was doing resistance training and all that. So that also helps. That's why I was saying, that fasting and working out go hand in hand. So personally, I kind of wanted to work out while fasted. So at noon, when I would go directly to the gym, still on a fasted state, so it's at the very last period of the 16-hour window, I would do my workout. And then immediately after my workout, I would eat a really big lunch, just to like supply my muscles and my body with the nutrients and the proteins and the carbs that it needed. If I couldn't do that during lunchtime, if I couldn't work out just before my lunch, then I would, work out in the evening, so just before my dinner. And then I would finish eating by 9, and then prepare to go to sleep. So I did that for quite a long time, 2.5 years or a bit more than that. And then until very recently, I wanted to take it a step further. I moved from a 16 8-hour schedule to a 22 slash 2-hour window where you fast for 22 hours and you eat in a period of 2 hours. So I'm basically being the guinea pig here and telling you what happens when you do this. Of course, the first week is a bit difficult. You feel really hungry around lunchtime. I was starving. But after a few days, you kind of get used to it, and you realize you don't really need to eat these 3 meals a day or 2 meals a day. I mean, as long as you have the calories you need every single day to give you the energy for the next day, it's fine. And I realized that I was getting much more energy, much more focus. Instead of going during my lunch to lose like 1.5 hours to make my food or to order it, eat it, and then kind of be in a slouchy mode, I was able to just skip that, continue with my work, of course, taking breaks whenever I need so that I can stay focused. But I was able to focus right through, from starting 9 in the morning until like 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. And yeah, it was very interesting. The first few days, I was kind of shocked at the benefits that this has. So then what I would do is I would work out at any point, maybe during lunchtime or after my work. And then around 7, I would eat, and I would try to eat a lot, of course, because you're focusing all of that eating into 2 hours. You really need to try to maximize the amount of food you eat. So I found that was the hardest of everything. So be wary of that. So now it's been it's been almost 2 months that I've been doing 22-hour and 2-hour fasting regime. And I found that I've been losing even more fat. I'm getting more cut, more lean. And I also noticed that my weight hasn't changed. So I'm a pretty heavy guy, pretty tall guy. I weigh around 93 kilos, 95 kilos. And over the past 2 months, my weight has not changed, but I've definitely gotten leaner. So that to me tells me that even though I've been losing fat and losing some weight from the fat, I've been gaining muscle because my weight hasn't changed. Another really nice plus, which is kind of funny, is I'm usually quite a pig when I eat. I like to eat a lot. A lot of my friends will know this. Sometimes it's hard for them to keep up with me, or I'm usually the last person on the table because I'm still eating. And this works perfectly for me because during that 2-hour window, I can really eat as much as I want, because eventually the next day I'm gonna burn right through that. Of course, you gotta understand, don't be an actual pig and don't eat junk food, don't eat bad food. Nutrition is very important, okay? If you really want to see the best benefits from fasting, whether it's a 16 8-hour window or a 22 2-hour window or whatever, you have to make sure to eat properly, okay? You need to look at your macros and your micros. Make sure that you're eating the amount of calories that you need, and stay away from junk food, okay? If you want to see the best benefits, do it this way. So there you go. In a nutshell, there's a lot of benefits from fasting. I shared with you guys my experiences, what has worked and what has not worked. So I suggest everyone to try this out. Start off on a 16 to 8-hour window regime. Get used to that maybe at the beginning. And if you want to build it up to higher levels or to longer fasting periods, then you can do so. Just be careful, eat properly still. You might also sometimes feel like you're losing your mind because you're getting hungry, and just don't worry. It's normal. as human beings. We've been going through it for a long period of time. If you want to make it easier for you, allow yourself the weekends to eat whenever you want. If you're kind of craving those magnificent brunches you used to have, you know, like, you can still do so. But just do it like maybe on a Saturday or on a Sunday, or both if you want. You will still see the benefits for sure. Also, just one last recommendation, please do drink water during your fasting, okay? You can also drink teas and you can also drink coffee, but just don't drink any caloric drinks. Don't take any calories. Lemon water is actually fine. If you feel like maybe sometimes you're getting a little dizzy, that probably means because you're missing a bit of potassium, sodium, and calcium, and some magnesium. So maybe take in some salts, just a little bit, you know. But besides that, I would say just stick to non-caloric drinks, water, coffee, tea, and that's it. So there you go. I hope this information was useful for you. I hope that, you know, the summary of the benefits of fasting has been useful for you and you gained some knowledge from this. I hope that my experiences has shed some knowledge as well. Maybe give you the little boost you needed to start your own fasting, you know, and just try it out, you know. Yeah, what harm can it give you if you just try it out? If you have any comments, please do mention them below. I read all your comments. Leave a like if you did like the video, and subscribe if you want to watch more videos. So have a nice day, guys, and see you in the next show.